What's going on, y'all? Welcome to another episode of Ralph's Real Review, where today we are going over 1951's Alice in Wonderland. Quick status update on the channel. We are currently at 33 subscribers as of the recording of this video. I did say the new goal was going to be 50 by a date that I hadn't specified, and I've specified now. I'm thinking by Sleeping Beauty. If we can get 17 more subs and about 3 or 4 more videos, that would be great. So if you haven't subbed, please subscribe. All right, we're going to be going through all the Disney Pixar movies, and eventually at some point we'll be getting to current reviews. But for now, let's get into Alice in Wonderland. Alice in Wonderland is not an anthology film, but it kind of feels like it. Really, you're following this one girl, Alice, through a maze of just wacky things that are like not really related, but are kind of related, but not really related. Kind of like an anthology film. So you have Alice. She's taking in some sort of history lesson, and she says that if she were to have a world all her own, it would be full of nonsense. And then she goes through a world full of nonsense where she meets all these types of characters who are all just full of nonsense. And then the movie ends with her waking up and rejoining the real world. There's nothing more to the plot than that. In the animation category, I am putting Alice in Wonderland right on top for now. And the reason why is because this is a movie that had to be good animation wise because of the way that the story is. And I feel like this movie really delivered on that in a way that only an animated movie could. I haven't seen the live action version. I will at some point, but I've never really been a huge fan of Alice in Wonderland. But watching it this time around, with a more technical eye, I guess I would say, um, not only was the animation very well done when it had to be very well done, but because of the nature of the story, there's so much animation going on that I feel like at this point I'm typically choosing between quality and quantity of animation, and this one I feel like had both. So I'm going to go ahead and put it at that one spot. When it comes to storytelling, I do have Alice in Wonderland at 7. The reason I've never been a huge fan of this movie. This isn't the first time I've seen it. I've watched it multiple times since I was a kid, and I never really got into it. Even when I was playing Kingdom Hearts, I was never a huge fan of the Alice in Wonderland section, and for the most part, it's because I always found it boring. This time around, I enjoyed it more than I typically did. I kind of accepted it for what it was, but I do feel like, again, like I said in the plot synopsis, there really isn't much of a plot. You have this girl and she's going through Wonderland. It really does feel like an anthology film under one umbrella, right? And she's just going to all these different things and seeing all these different stories, but really moving through with no real direction besides keep going forward and chasing the white hare. Like that's pretty much it, or the white rabbit, I should say. So, yeah, storytelling, I'm putting it at 7. Characters was tough. I'm putting Alice in Wonderland at 4, but I kind of had to have a fight here between again, quality and quantity of characters. The three movies above it are Cinderella, Pinocchio, and Snow White. And when it comes to like the iconic nature of their top hitters, I can't debate that, right? Like Cinderella, Cinderella. With Pinocchio, you have Jiminy Cricket, you have Geppetto. With Snow White, you have Snow White, you have the Evil Queen, you have Grumpy and Dopey, right? Like the top of the top for those are so high that I can't really put Alice over it. The weird thing with Alice in Wonderland is none of the characters are like crazy strong on their own, but they have so many fun and enjoyable characters that have survived in like the cultural awareness that it's hard to knock it even further down than a Dumbo. Where I would say Dumbo is probably a more iconic character than Alice in and of herself, right? When you look at the characters we're talking about here, we're talking about Alice, we're talking about the White Rabbit, the Mad Hatter, the March Hare, oh, I burned my finger by the way, the Cheshire Cat, the Queen of Hearts, right? The doorknob, which I don't even know if the doorknob has a name, but I could visualize that doorknob. There's so many characters that the smoking caterpillar, I don't know what his name is, the singing flowers, like there's so many iconic characters from this movie that maybe don't rise to the level of like a Pinocchio or a Cinderella or a Snow White. But they're there and they're all over Magic Kingdom and they're all over Disneyland too. So it's hard for me to put it above those other ones because the protagonist is so bland and with I would argue Alice is probably one of the least enjoyable characters from the rest of them, right? However, the rest of the cast is so strong. I do feel like 4 is where I have to put that one. When it comes to the Disney factor, I am going to put Alice in Wonderland at four again, right beneath Fantasia. I really think Fantasia and Alice in Wonderland are kind of evenly matched when it comes to this. I think that Alice in Wonderland has this, is not quite a magical feeling with Alice in Wonderland, but it does have that like Disney feel to it that I feel like Fantasia has. Whereas with Fantasia, it felt more, what's the word I'm looking for? Like innovative, right? Like innovative in a way that was significant and specific to Walt Disney himself. Alice in Wonderland felt like it had a type of ambition, but I just don't feel that it does deliver, but not to the extent that a Fantasia does. So because of that, I do have them neck and neck, but I do have Alice in Wonderland falling right underneath Fantasia. Yeah, when it comes to the music, I have Alice in Wonderland at eight. And it's really interesting because I think I read somewhere online that Alice in Wonderland has more songs than any Disney movie ever. Um, and you notice it, right? Like as I'm listening to Alice in Wonderland, I realize that there is a lot of music in Alice in Wonderland, but I don't find much of it to be enjoyable at all. Very much like how I felt with the anthology films, right? So you have Paint the Roses Red, which I found okay. You have the Unbirthday song, which I think would be the highlight of this movie. But the rest of it to me is like it's whatever, right? And they fill in like the anthology songs fill in. So because of that, I do think it's better than most of the anthology songs. But not that high, which is why I have it at 8 out of 13. Box office success, Alice in Wonderland right now is at sixth, right over those other anthology films. It seems like at this point, when you adjust for inflation, Disney was either making movies that are over $500 million or under 100, and that's where we're at right now. So Alice in Wonderland kind of fills in. This is one where I had to adjust for inflation based on my own math. It did have two releases, one in 51 and one, I believe, in 1974. So those adjusted numbers for inflation, when you combine them, come out to about $67 million, which again is above all those anthology films, but it falls beneath the huge, $500 million adjusted totals. When it comes to the historical significance of this movie, I have Alice in Wonderland at four. I believe that it does live on in multiple mediums, right? When it comes to the video game medium, there's so many versions of it. Obviously, the one that comes to mind is that it's in the original Kingdom Hearts and it makes its way back to other entries in Kingdom Hearts. It does have a live action spinoff. The characters are all over the parks. And when I say all over the parks, like sometimes it means like, oh, there's a ride, or there's a restaurant, or there's a store, or there's a meet and greet. With Alice in Wonderland, it's all of it. You can meet Alice in Epcot. She has rides in both Magic Kingdom and Disneyland. Other ones of those characters are also available. You have the Cheshire Cat Cafe in Magic Kingdom, right? There's stores, there's restaurants. Alice in Wonderland lives on throughout the parks, throughout other mediums. Because of that, I do have to put the historical significance higher. However, the reason why I don't have it above the likes of, like I said, a Cinderella or a Snow White, while it is prevalent, like those other movies above it are also prevalent. But those other movies didn't just change the Disney company; they also had something to do with like either the brand moving forward or movies in general moving forward. And with Alice in Wonderland, while I feel like it is very present, I don't know how much it changed for either the company or movies in general, which is why I have it in that four slot. To me, Alice in Wonderland is a mixed bag. I think it has its highlights, more so than I would have thought when I first came into the movie based on my previous experiences with it. The animation is very good, the Disney feeling of it is very good. It's about middle of the pack when it comes to box office returns, and I would say it's below basic when it comes to the plot and moving through it. However, I do believe because it is so culturally important isn't the word, but it's there, present. I guess is what I would say. I would say if you are a Disney fan, then this is a movie that you should watch. I think that there's enough like I'm gonna call it Disney whimsy to kind of get you through the movie, and you would most likely enjoy it. And then when you go through and you see all these characters that are present throughout the park, it'll mean a little bit something more to you. So because of that, in the tiers, Disney fans. All right, y'all, that'll do it for this episode. We are 13 movies in out of about 70 something, so we still got a long way to go. If you have not subscribed, please make sure to subscribe. If you want to catch me on TikTok, where you can see Ralph's Rapid Reviews, they debut a day earlier than they do here. You can go find me at Ralph's Rapid Reviews. If you want to find out whenever I post anything, you can catch me on Instagram at Ralph Reviews. But thank you guys so much for watching. Have a great Monday, and I will see you guys next week. Bye.